All right, guys, I'm gonna do notebook 7. So in order to do that, you wanna get your materials ready. Get your book, you need the instructions. It's on page 112. You also need the front bodice. The book uses the 2-dart bodice. So this is on page 788 of your book if you wanna just trace it and make a copy. If you only have the front dart bodice, you should know how to slash and spread to turn it into 2 darts. So just get prepared with that. In order to sew this guy up, you do need a back bodice. So I would have him handy as well. And then we need our Scotch tape, pencil, scissors, ruler. I have some dot paper here that we will probably use later, possibly, most likely, yes. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna start with figure 1. Trace the pattern. So I just have a photocopy of it. And they want us to extend the shoulder 1 1/4 inch. Okay, so this is the half scale. So it is half of 1 1/4. Half of 1/4 is 1/8, and half of 1 is 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch plus 1/8. I don't even feel like doing that math. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna measure 1 inch, half of 1 inch. So there's my 1/2 inch. And then I'm gonna do half of 1/4, which is only 1/8. Okay, and I see 1/8 little box. Oops, hold on a second. That's 1/2 inch. There's my 1/8. Okay, so there we go. I extended it. Draw vertical slash lines up from the dart points parallel with center front. Okay, so we have some dart points parallel. Here's our center front. Okay, so it wants it parallel this direction. So I guess if I scoot this guy over, I'm gonna, I mean, in the book, they don't go all the way up, but they don't say not to. So I'll just kind of go about there. And then we want another one parallel as well. Do we need a vocab check? What does parallel and perpendicular mean? So it's a direction of the line in relation to another line. So they're relating to center front. They want it the exact same direction, basically. They don't want it at different angles. So parallel, if like this center front line and this line went on and on forever and ever, they would never intersect. But if it was at an angle, it would eventually intersect. So I don't know, vocab check. Okay, let's see here. They want us to mark the bust point. Check, the thing was already marked for us, so that's easy. The third little bullet point in figure 1, they want us to draw a curved line from our extended shoulder until it intersects with the vertical line that's coming from our side dart. So they just want a nice vertical line here. So, okay, kind of lightly doing it. I think that looks nice. I don't have a fancy ruler for this. I'm just kind of drawing it myself, whatever I think looks nice. Great. Now they want us to draw a parallel curve line. So somehow they want me to draw the exact same curve line to the next vertical line. And let's see here. In the illustration, it comes from here. So let's see how good I am. You know, I could get a ruler if I want to be exact. I'm kind of eyeballing it right now, and I feel like I'm doing okay. But you don't want to eyeball it. Let's just measure the difference here on my ruler. Okay, I feel like, you know what, this side's kind of bent funny. Okay, so let's see here. We're just below the 3/4 inch mark. So if I just kind of keep marking that every so often, it'll be parallel. Oops. I could kind of keep doing that all the way. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's my parallel curve. Okay, now they want us to draw another parallel curve for the neckline. So we're getting a new neckline, and they dropped it 1.5 inches. I don't think they talk about that in the bullet point instructions, but I can see from the illustration, it's about 1.5 inches. So half of that is 3/4. But then that's not really gonna make mine parallel anymore, but whatever. Okay, that kind of works. Oops. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe that's why they didn't tell us in the book, because you might have to adjust depending on what size you're working with. Cool, so we're gonna cut this part off. That part's gonna go in the trash. So now they're ready for us to cut this from the paper and to trim off this neckline. Cool, so that will conclude figure 1. So I will go ahead and cut it right. Moving on to figure 2. Figure 2, we're gonna draft our facing. This is kind of another vocabulary check as well. So facing, it's kind of like the lining, but it's not a full lining. This is something that will go underneath your fabric, underneath your, silk fabric. So all they have us do is fold this paper and trace this guy on it. I'm just gonna trace the top half because I know that's all we need. And then from here, they say this should be 2 inches. We're on the half scale, so I'll mark 1 inch. And from here, we just, this should also be 1 inch. We just draw whatever kind of curve we want. This will be like the end of our facing. So this will be sewn on the inside of the garment. And what's great about a facing is that it, works out our raw edges for us. And so once we sew the facing to the garment and we flip it, it'll have a really nice, clean, finished edge on the inside and the outside. So there won't be any exposed raw edges, which is really good on like a sleeveless top like that. So cool, so this will be our facing. Oops. We can go ahead and label it from here. This is sample number 7. Facing. And yeah, we'll just say cut 1 because I will unfold this. So you really only need to cut 1 once we unfold it. Pattern maker's name, and of course our date. Okay, great. And I can cut that out. If you want to add seam allowance, you can add seam allowance now. I like to add seam allowance later, so I would actually just go ahead and cut this out. Ready to move on to figure 3, our new pattern shape. Okay, so bullet point number 1 says go ahead and cut our slash lines to the dart points and the bust, and then we gotta close our dart legs and tape them. Okay, so this was 1 slash line. I turn and cut it all the way to the bust. Apparently. Okay, here's the other one. And this one says to cut it to the dart point. Okay, so in order to close it, I'll have to cut this guy to the bust point as well. Okay, great. So I guess close this first one here, and as I do that, this opens up. Maybe I'll secure this first. Go ahead and close. There we are. Okay. And I'm going to close our side dart. Okay, so now they want us to mark our dart points. They say 1 inch up. So we're on half scale, so I'll just do 1/2 inch. And then we can redraw the dart legs to meet from there. And then they're ready for us to just add our grain line, label our pattern, add seam allowance, all that good stuff. So I'm just gonna trace out as is. I like to add my seam allowance on my muslin fabric for notebook samples. I like to leave this a working pattern with no seam allowance, so I just need to label it. And then one thing though, if I'm gonna sew this guy up, I wanna sew it to the back. I'd like to sew it to the shoulder seam. So I will have to change this pattern so that these shoulder seams match. So really when that shoulder seam gets sewn together, it'll look like this. It'll be really easy to sew this to it. So I could use this as well, kind of as a guide. So let's see here. Gosh. Oh, look at that. It's actually the same length in this case. So I could just redraw my back neckline to just kind of come up here if that's what I'd like to do. And then this part could get thrown away. And then that way when I sew it up, it'll fit. I don't know, maybe that's what we should do. The book doesn't really say, but that's something we should be thinking about. So, okay, I guess I'm ready to cut this guy out and sew him up.